Hey, what you reading for?
Today is launch day for fans of Adam Nevill, like I am. It's a big day. The day when he releases his latest horror, All the Fiends of Hell. Now, I have been promising for a few months now to make a video review of this book, but I wanted to hold off until the book was actually available. And even though I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, I am not going to make you wait any longer. Now, there is a chance that my being a bit under the weather, that is psychosomatic. You see, the protagonist of All the Fiends of Hell, he is recovering from a flu at the beginning of the book. And like a method actor who becomes the character they're meant to portray, that's the level of dedication I put into my video reviews. I become the protagonist of the story. I put myself in their skin. I face their horrors for you, the viewer. I do have a lot in common with the protagonist of this book. I too am jobless, childless, no relationship, no special skills. And the protagonist, he wakes up to find that the small town he lives in has suddenly become deserted. But soon, he will face the reality of a horrific, otherworldly invasion, and he will have to flee. And I'm pretty much in the same boat. I live in a small resort town in the south of France, and for the moment it's deserted. But I can sense in the air that soon tourists from Germany and from Paris will soon invade this peaceful town, and I too will have to flee. So I found it easy to relate to this protagonist, and that's nice in a novel. All the Fiends of Hell is an alien invasion story, but it's unlike any alien invasion story I've ever experienced. We don't know if the invaders are come from another planet or if they come from another dimension. It's a bit like H.G. Wells meets Lovecraft, but it's entirely Adam Nevill. And that's one of the things I really liked about this book. Adam Nevill is one of my favorite horror writers. I've read all of his novels. And he has never given us an alien invasion story before, so this was new territory. And I love when an author I admire takes chances, when they expand the reach of their talents. And while this was new territory, it was very much recognizable as an Adam Nevill horror. I think fans of Adam Nevill are going to be very happy. All the Fiends of Hell reminded me a bit of Lost Girl, in that the protagonist is on a kinetic quest while the world as we know it is on the brink of collapse. And the horror aspect, the invaders, reminded me a bit of Last Days, or even Under a Watchful Eye. The way they're described as being only partially substantial, more like wisps, carrying only the suggestion of form. Another thing I really liked about this book is the characters. There aren't many, but each character, even if they only appear for one scene, or some stay around for a bit longer, each character has a distinctive voice. And beyond their locution, it's their sensitivity or lack thereof as to how they react to this extinction level event, ranging from the touching even to the disturbing, in various shades in between. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start this review by taking a look at the beautiful cover art by Samuel Araya.
That I've got one here that had a slightly marred cover that we won't be selling.
Okay, wow. You have such beautiful artwork on your covers in general.
Samuel Araya is my favourite artist in horror and in genre. and we've had a long association. Sam sent me these sketches.
Look at that.
Inspired by the ritual. So you have Blood Frenzy in the middle. I guess one of the sort of ancestors on one side, and then his depiction of Moda, the god, on the other side.
I love Samuel Araya's artwork. In fact, I want to show some of it to you. So I put together a short slideshow featuring the music of Alfred Schnittke. Let's take a look, and I will see you on the other side for my review of All the Fiends of Hell. Carl is an everyday man with no particular skills, no particular ambition. His marriage fell apart. His career was on the brink of falling apart. Yet all that was yesterday, when the world still made sense. Carl is one of the few survivors of the Night of Bells, the night when chimes cued the departure of humankind as able-bodied men, women, and children fell into the sky. The few remaining must now contend with the cleanup crew, the horrors, insubstantial alien-like wisps that ride the reddening sky in search of survivors. Those they find are ripped apart, their mangled limbs strewn in the trees or piled into pyres. Grotesque architecture of discarded flesh and bone speckles the landscape as Carl makes his way south to the coast. The sky is not yet red above the sea. Carl's desperate aim is to find a boat and sail away to where the horrors will not follow. As Carl loots the stores for food, for supplies, for clues as to what his world has become, he comes across 6-year-old Haley and her brother, 12-year-old Jake. Carl is now a surrogate father, an ill-prepared guardian on the run from invaders from another world. Where are they from? How did they get here? What do they want? The inability to reconcile observation with knowledge only heightens the horror. As the threat is beyond his intellectual grasp, any arms he could conceive against it would be futile. Any reason or motive he could ascribe would be pointless conjecture. His faculties allow for the formulation of but one sound directive: run, for as long and as far as he can. And should any shred of humanity remain, he will know it by its plain yet profound expression: hope and solidarity. I struggle to find a book or a movie to compare to All the Fiends of Hell. I think this might be the only alien invasion book I've read. But I do love an apocalyptic or humankind extinction setting. I love solitude, so that kind of setting really works well on my imagination. So it wasn't, the horror came later, but for the first part of the book, I was in a happy kind of imagination, even though it's an apocalyptic event. I don't know if that was intentional or if I'm just love solitude so much.
Absolutely. I mean, it was one of the things that attracted me to the story, and something that, you know, I remember fantasizing a lot about as a child, because I mean, we are surrounded by restraints and boundaries and private property, but just having, you know, even just your neighborhood to yourself for one day, what is behind the doors and the walls that surround you that are familiar, the exteriors are familiar, you know nothing about what's on the other side of them, it's a mystery. And you know, I always used to think as a kid it would be great just to wander in and out of shops and, you know, take whatever you wanted.
Yes. Yeah, that's where my imagination was going for that first part of All the Fiends of Hell. It's like, oh, this would be wonderful. I mean, the horror is too bad, but this is nice.
Yeah, what comes next isn't so good. But yeah, dereliction and abandonment is something that I find very affecting.
If you are a horror fan, but you've never read Adam Nevill, firstly, if you're a horror fan, how is it that you've never read Adam Nevill? That doesn't make sense. But if that's you, I will warn you, Adam Nevill does not mess around. This isn't extreme horror, it's not super graphic, and I don't think it's one of his scariest books, like The Reddening or The Ritual or No One Gets Out Alive. But it is not a book for horror tourists. If you are intimidated or wary to read an Adam Nevill book, because they can be quite scary, firstly, good instinct. Yes, they can be quite scary. But I think All the Fiends of Hell might make for a good introduction to his work. It's very much an Adam Nevill horror. It's good. The first half of the book is relatively slow and easy, and then things ramp up significantly in the second half. Overall, I thought it was well paced. It's intriguing and satisfying, exactly what you would expect from an Adam Nevill horror. If you're curious to hear more about Adam Nevill's catalog, I have a video where I rank all his novels, 11 novels. So I did this ranking before All the Fiends of Hell was released, obviously. So I guess now I will have to do another ranking video. He has 3 short story collections that I have not read, so I could read those and do a ranking of his entire works, all 15 books. We'll see. Also, if you haven't already, do check out my 3-part series In Conversation with Adam Nevill, where he talks about his writing career, his process, the publishing industry, and the state of horror through the decades. Thank you for watching. I look forward to connecting with you in the comment section. And what did you think of my video review?
Oh, I like it.
Do you?
Yeah, you can do the next book.